Rabbi Rubashkin and I happened to speak together. And he said when he was in prison, he wasn't in some white-collar prison. When you're sentenced to 27 years, most of the people in his prison with him were murderers. And people would come over to him and ask him, this is apparently the question you ask in prison, when did you get here? And when are you leaving? He says, my answer every time was, I never got here. I'm not in prison. And it's not like a hotel that I came and I checked in. They put me here, but I'm not here. When am I leaving? Today. He says, in fact, after he was pardoned, a few weeks afterwards, a few prison guards were having a conversation, and one said to the other, who was the guy that President Trump pardoned? And the other guard said, you remember that prisoner who was always happy? That one. Rabbi Rubashkin shared this story. He says in jail, people get letters. As you can imagine, it feels great to get one, and it feels horrible not to. He says every prisoner would get a letter maybe once or twice a month. He got 10 to 15 a day. And they would announce it, because the way they would give you the mail is they would say, everyone in the prison apparently had a nickname. They would say, okay, blood, here's your letter. Crime, here's your letter. Dead man, here's your letter. He says, and my nickname was Rabbi. And I'd come up and I'd get a whole stack. He says, one day some genius in jail with me came over to me with missing 2 teeth. And he says, hey, Rabbi, you're taking our mail. He says, what? You're taking our mail. He says, how could I take your mail? I said, well, look, none of us have mail, and you have mail. It must be you took all of our mail. He says, can you see? The name on the front is me. Is your name Shalom Mordechai Rubashkin? He said the man still didn't get it. So he finally opened up one of the pieces of mail, and the letter was written in Yiddish. So he hands it to the man. He says, Mr. Blood, can you read this? He says, it's obviously not your mail. The man says, okay, I guess not. He says, and then when the man walked away, he says, I learned an incredible lesson. No one could get anyone else's mail. No one could get anyone else's life. I have the exact, precise life that is addressed and written for me. And he continued to be happy. In fact, he says that at 8 years in, he got a letter to his cell that said, your last appeal was rejected. You're never coming out till 27 years. He says his shoulders sagged. And then he looked up to Shamayim. He said, Hashem, these walls, these guards, these judges, these juries, the metal bars, none of them have any power. Only you have power. The next day, a guard comes and opens up his cell and says, Rubashkin, get out. He says, where am I going? He says, you're going home. President Trump just pardoned you. And I went over to him this past Friday and I said, Rabbi, I'm sure it was more fun selling meat than it was being in jail. But you became, during your jail time, you became a role model for Jewish people around the world. There was so much more power in your pain than there was in your meat. When you feel weak, when you feel like you're brought to your knees, when you feel like you're staring your kryptonite in the eyes and you don't know what to do, this is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity to say, here's where heaven and earth connect. Here's where I become close to God and nothing's in between.
Beis Gimel, Amona, Betochen, der Eberstein, Wort des Giola.